Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Mass, and I'm an application engineer here at Ally PLM Solutions. I'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's Lunch Bytes webinar, where we are going to explore the capabilities of the PMI tools in NX8. Here at Ally PLM, we like to keep end users up to date on the latest developments with the engineering software products we support. One of the ways we do that is by hosting afternoon sessions such as this one. Future sessions will be delivered once a month, usually on the second Thursday of each month at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Previously recorded sessions can be found on our website at www.allyplm.com. There you will also find upcoming Lunch Bytes topics and dates. We want our Lunch Bytes to be valuable to you, so please let us know your suggestions on topics we should cover via email. We have several of you on the line with us today, therefore you'll be in listen-only mode. Should you have any question regarding today's material, feel free to write them down and email them to me directly at paul.mass@allyplm.com. So as I mentioned, the topic we're going to cover today is PMI, and when I first heard this acronym, my first question was, well, what exactly is PMI? PMI stands for Product Manufacturing Information and consists of non-geometric features. By that I mean they're not solid bodies, lines, or shapes. They're more or less annotations and symbols, things that are 2D that are displayed in the 3D environment, which will aid in the manufacture of components and assemblies. Some examples of PMI are GD&T, feature control frames, datums, weld and surface finish symbols, notes, balloons, or some people like to call them call-outs, part identification markings, and we can even create section views with PMI tools. In the lower right hand of the slide that we have shown right now, you can see a screenshot of how to access the PMI tools. Before my PMI commands and tools become active, I need to go to my Start drop-down menu and make sure that I have PMI toggled on. Once I have the PMI toggled on, I'll be able to access a PMI drop-down menu from the top main menu bar where all my PMI commands will be housed, or I can also use a quick toolbar, the PMI toolbar that we can see down here towards this bottom screenshot, and I can dock that toolbar anywhere I'd like to on the NX user interface. We're also going to see some different things in our part Navigator once we start to use these tools. You can see the screenshot that I have here on the right side of the slide shows a couple new collectors that we may not be used to seeing if we're not used to using the PMI tools. I'll have this PMI collector, which is going to house all my PMI objects, and then I'll also be able to see which view those PMI objects are being used in. In this example, the left working view has these PMI objects housed in them. So the purpose, the whole deal behind using PMI tools is that, today's day and age where tablets and iPads are becoming more common, and we're doing things with CAM now where the model is the deliverable, why not just go ahead and put the dimensions, GD&T, and any other kind of notes or things like that that define the part in the 3D environment attached to the model so that that is the main deliverable. This is going to help us be more efficient and create less work for us, because now we won't have to maintain a drawing and a model. And things, at least for me, if most of us have good mechanical aptitude and we like to see things in 3D, this for me is easier to read than a 2D drawing. Sometimes if I have a really complex part and I'm looking at a draft of a complex part, the hidden lines and the tangent lines can sometimes be hard to read, and you get a lot of lines crossing each other. This way, if I have a model that I can kind of rotate around in 3D space and see where the dimensions are attached to and things of that nature, it makes it a little bit more easier for me to read. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate some of these tools, some of these PMI tools, and to do that, let me jump into NX. And basically what I have here is just kind of a generic machine block. Maybe it's used in a manufacturing process in a clamp or something like that, some type of fixture. And as I mentioned before, since we're going to start using these PMI tools, I need to first come up here to my Start drop-down menu and make sure that I have PMI toggled on. Once I toggle that on, I'll see that my PMI drop-down menu is now exposed, where all my PMI commands reside. And I also have this PMI quick toolbar that I've decided to dock just to the right. If I can get it to snap there. There we go. I'm docking that PMI toolbar just to the right of my part navigator. I want to make sure that since PMI tools are laid flat on an annotation plane, I want to create the PMI objects in the plane that I want them to be visible in, or in the view where I'd like them to be visible. So I'm going to make my front view my work view. I can either do that by right-clicking, selecting Make Work View, or I can just double-click it, and I'll know it's my work view because I have the word work right here in parentheses. First thing I'd like to place is a center mark. I can either get to it from my toolbar, or I can come up here to my PMI drop-down, supplementary geometry, and come to center mark. Now, if you're familiar with the drafting environment, a lot of these menu dialogues are going to look familiar. But one area that is new is going to be this orientation plane, also known as the annotation plane. To kind of give you an idea of what exactly this is, let me drop this down to user-defined. I'm going to further specify that by coming down to the CSIS of my current view. As soon as I tag that, we can see what it means by CSIS of my current view, meaning that the X vector is going to point directly to the right, and the Y vector is pointing directly up. If I come back up here and go to my Select Object step and say I'm going to place this center mark at the center of this hole here, we can see that the center mark lies on a parallel annotation plane, parallel to that plane we defined with the CSIS of the current view. So hopefully that gives a kind of an understanding of exactly what the annotation plane is. For this example, that really wouldn't make much sense. What I want to do is detail the front of this part. So I'm going to drop this back to model view, and it's going to snap. Let me orient this to my front. I'm going to lock my rotation on my space ball. So now we can see that the model view, it has snapped, our working model view is the front, so it has snapped to the front. I'm going to go ahead and select OK to place it. I was OK with all my values there. The next thing I would like to place is a horizontal baseline dimension. So I'm going to let my dimension fly out and come down here to horizontal baseline. The first few dimensions I'm going to place in this chain of dimensions are going to be basic in type. So I'm going to do my value drop down, do basic, select my first edge, my center mark, and now you'll see when I continue selecting my other points, it's going to start to create this chain of dimensions. And my very last one's going to be here out towards the end, but I want to change the type to a toleranced dimension, and I'm going to give it a tolerance of 1. I'm going to do that again because it was kind of hidden. So when I hit the tolerance values, I get this little tolerance input field, and I typed in 1, and then enter. And now I'm ready to select my point, and we can see that that last dimension that was created now has a tolerance of 1 millimeter. But let's say I wanted this stack of dimensions to fall below my part, to be placed down here. Well, it doesn't look very pretty. It doesn't, they're stacking in an upwards ascending order. To reverse that stacking, I just right-click and say Reverse Offset. That's going to stack them in the other direction. If I wanted to adjust the distance in between each dimension, I could come in here and select Offset, and I'll get an input field. Maybe I want to take that down to -6. Strike Enter, and we'll see that they're a little bit closer to each other. Once I'm happy with my horizontal dimensions, I can just click to place them. The next thing I want to put in is a vertical dimension. This will just be a single dimension as opposed to a chain of dimensions, and I want it to be basic of type. From here to here, I'll just place it out there. We can also place angular dimensions. Oh, let me pick my line again. accidentally picked the face. I'm going to place that out there to the side. And then I can also place something like a hole dimension. My hole dimension, I want it to have a upper tolerance value, but I don't want it to have any lower value. So it's going to be a unilateral in the positive direction. I'm going to pick that edge, and I want my tolerance to be 0.1. I'm going to strike enter. I also want some GD&T to control the location of this hole, so I'm going to come up here and select text, and notice that we get this this dialog, and this would also be familiar. This is basically, these are very similar to drafting tools. To the right of my dimension, I want it to say through, and below the dimension, I want it to have a feature control frame, true position, within a diameter of 0.1, max material condition. I'm going to put a vertical separator in there. C is going to be my primary datum, another vertical separator. F will be my secondary, max material condition, another separator, and A will be my tertiary. Select OK. And we'll see that it looks similar to what a drafting hole callout would look like. The next thing I want to put in is a couple control points, because I want to control the profile of this surface from this point to this point. In order to do that, I'm going to come up to my PMI dropdown, and I'm going to choose the node command. My node, I just want it to be, let's say, letter D. So let's take a look at this menu dialog. Basically, it's going to auto-align. If I have this set to associative, it'll automatically align my note to objects that will be aligned horizontally or vertically, can be positioned relative to geometry, and this is much easier just to kind of show you than describe. I am going to change my leader style to a filled dot. I already put my what text I want it to be in there. I do have edit text tools down here, such as cut, copy, paste. I also have symbols down here. I can come in and get drafting symbols if I like, or GD&T symbols. But I just want the letter D for now, and I want to pick and drag. And so now this is what I meant by the automatic text align. See how that has that dashed line snapping over to that basic 16 vertical dimension? If I place it when that's snapped like that, that means it automatically created an associative horizontal alignment, so that if I drag this 16 up, the D is going to follow it. My control point is going to follow it. If I drag it back down, it will follow it back down. If I want to break that associativity, I can just drag the D out into a point in space, and now you'll see that the associativity has been broken. If I want to reestablish associativity, I can just drag it back down, come over and hover over that 16, get the dashed line back, and it's going to be associated back to that vertical dimension. I don't want associativity, so I'm just going to kind of place it right there. And I want to put another control point up here on this point. Save my last setting, so really all I need to do is change the text to E. I'm going to go ahead and put an E control point right up here, and then I'm going to come in here with another PMI tool called Feature Control Frame. And so alignment, we've talked a little bit about that. So these are automatic alignment tools. If I want to get even more control over the position of my note or my PMI objects, I can toggle this origin tool, and that'll take me into even to specify that associativity, what I'm associating to, and where I want it to be placed in more depth. But I don't need that for this case. I just wanted to make you aware that it's there. Orientation, we talked about that. It's on model view. My leader type, I want it to be plain, just an arrow. And the type I'm looking for is profile of the surface with a value of 0.6. I want my primary datum reference to be A. I want my secondary reference to be C. And now let's look at this text field. The text here inside the carets where it says My Feature Control Frame is exactly what it sounds like. Let me move this out of the way so you can see my feature control frame is kind of hidden there behind the model. But if I place text before that caret, you can see the text being placed before my feature control frame. If I place it below it, you'll see text being placed below it. That's where I'd like some text to be. I want it to run from control point D between E. And I'm going to come up here and attach it to this line. I need to make sure that specify location, that's the step I'm on. And now I'm ready to attach it to that line to control that surface. Let's come in here and add a datum feature symbol. I can hide that alignment part. The type of leader I want is just a datum leader, a filled datum, and the letter for my datum is going to be C. And I wanted to specify this back surface as the datum C. One little trick I do want to show you is once that's placed, I'll be able to drag this to the left or to the right, but I'm unable to drag it up or down. This was, back in my early days as a drafter, this was quite frustrating until I figured out that all I have to do is hold down the shift button while dragging, and now I'm able to drag it up and down as well as left to right. So I like that location right there. One more thing I want to add is another feature control frame. This time it's going to be perpendicularity with a value of 0.5. I'm not going to have any secondary datum, and I don't need any text above, below, to the left, or to the right. So I'm just going to have only my feature control frame down there. And the type of leader I'm going to use this time, as opposed to plane, or datum, I'm going to use the flag. And I want to flag it off of this surface back here. I need to make sure that specify location is my action step. I can come down and place that like that. So this pretty much defines my front view for this part. So I'm going to hit Fit and go ahead and save my works thus far. And so let's take a look at our part navigator over here. We have this, as I mentioned, we have this PMI collector. And if we were to take a look at my vertical dimensions, you can see that 4 vertical dimensions exist within this part. And my latest one is vertical dimension 103, the one that I just placed, but I don't see these other 3. So if I want to further examine that, I can see that my left view has a little plus mark beside it, so there must be some stuff over there. If I expand it, I can see, oh, okay, yeah, it does have some PMI information. So if I double-click to make that my work view, in essence of saving time, I've already detailed the left side of this part, and we can see that there's quite a few PMI information in this view as well. Now let's talk about maybe some more pictorial views. These are projected views or base views, as we like to call, standard engineering views. Let's talk about maybe an isometric view that might have some different type of information displayed. Let me show this little sketch. I just have a sketch of a point down there because maybe I want to designate an area for part marking. So I'm going to come under here in PMI, supplemental geometry, and designate a PMI region. Creates regions, rectangular, circular, etc., which are used to indicate limited areas on a part. So I'm going to select that. And you'll notice that my width and height are set and all that kind of stuff. I have my anchor point set. Let me just show you something real quick. If I hit reset, it's going to go back to the out-of-the-box settings where the anchor point is middle center, model views, my plane, width, height, or 10. On these type of dialog menus, this little tool up here, show menu, the little gear up here, if I come down, I saved those previous settings as a favorite. So I can say open favorite, part marking, and we'll see that it went back to the settings that I saved, width, height. And so that tool is available in most all your dialogues like this. That's just kind of a little tip or trick. If you have certain settings in any kind of command that you use often, you can just come up here and say save favorite or save favorite as and assign it a name. I do want to do a user-defined plane here, and I'm going to specify my plane by x-axis and y-axis. I'm going to call this the x-axis and this the y-axis, and my point is going to be my sketch point here, and it throws my part marking right on that plane. Now I can choose to have cross-hatching. I can say general use, and we can see a preview of that, and it'll cross-hatch that designated PMI region. I'm just going to leave it be an outline though, so I'm going to go back up to none. I just wanted to show that that availability is there, that functionality is there. I'm going to go ahead and select OK. I'm going to hide that sketch too. So now let's put a note on there. I'm going to orient my view back to isometric. I'm going to put in another PMI note, and this time my text is going to say mark part number, batch number, take that down to the next line, and revision in designated area. I want to take the style of my leader, my arrowhead, back up to a filled arrow. I'm going to come up here and just kind of associate it to that PMI region, drag it out here to the side. Hit close. Now one other thing we can do is create section views. Let's say I wanted to specify to the machinist that these ports or these passageways need to be free of burrs and debris, but I would like to get a nice section view in there so I can be really specific when he views that. So I can come in here to PMI, down to my section flyout. I'm going to choose lightweight section view. There is a previous lunch bite that goes into detail about the difference between section view and lightweight section view and how to create those, and I believe it was the last one called Special Tools, and I'll show you how to get there toward the end of this presentation on how to view replays of our other lunch bites. But so I'm just going to kind of go through this quick. I'm just going to create a lightweight section view. I want it to go right through the center of those holes. I'm going to select OK. Now notice that my PMI region and my note have disappeared. And I did this purposely to show you that PMI objects are specific to a model view. My lightweight section tool that I just created a lightweight section view, and it is now my work view. Notice that it does not have a plus mark beside it. The PMI label and the PMI region still reside at the isometric. If I come up here and make that my work view, that's where those reside. If I come back here to my lightweight section view, I don't see them, but I can make them visible here simply by right-clicking. Actually, let me do this. If I select that note, we can see that the color of my PMI region highlights in green. That's saying that it is associated to this. So when I make this note visible in other views, this region is also going to be visible because of the associativity. It doesn't work reverse though. I can make the region visible, but the note necessarily won't come with it. So let me just show you what I mean by that. I'm going to make my lightweight section view my work view. I'm going to right click on the label under isometric view and say display in views and turn it on in my lightweight section view. And we can see that the note came with it because of associativity. I'm going to add another note in here, talking about the debris in the metal chips, and I'm going to say ensure passageways are clear of metal shavings, burrs, and debris. I want to make sure that my point on face and my snap point is turned on so that I can select these faces down here. I'm simply going to select and drag, select and drag, select and drag to create multiple leaders at the same time and place it. Now notice that my stub doesn't come out far enough so that one of my leaders is going over my text. I can adjust that. If I just double click on that note, I have this little stub length value here. I just pull it out to the side like that. Pretty nice. Save my work so far. And so now we can see if we were taking a model maybe to a vendor or maybe a potential customer, and we just wanted to show them, you know, in a presentation fashion, you know, we could show them, okay, and this could be, maybe this was a piece of machinery and you didn't want to have real specific engineering or manufacturing information. Maybe you just wanted to have PMI notes and dimensions that describe the footprint of this machine that you're trying to sell this person. You can go through and cycle through some views and say, this is what it looks like, here are its basic dimensions. You know what I mean? You can cycle through these views and kind of rotate the model around. So you can use it in that way. Or this could be, like in this example, delivered to the machinist. He's got all of his drafting elements as well as the 3D model that he can use in CAM to go ahead and make this part. Let's see how this stuff transfers into the 2D world. So now I'm currently in the drafting environment. I had a sheet in there with a format already applied to it. I'm going to come in here and insert a base view, and I'm going to come in here and save my front view. I'm going to go under my view style, and we'll see Inherit PMI tab from Model View. I could come in here and choose the PMI types if I'd like. I'm going to leave them all selected on. You know, I have that kind of control over exactly what type of PMI I want from the 3D world to come over into the 2D world. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to go ahead and place that view. And the drawing practically creates itself because I've already put the work in the 3D world. I don't have to put in duplicated efforts, you know, over in a different environment. I could do the same with the left view. I'm going to inherit my PMI. And we need one more view. It's going to be that lightweight section view. I'm going to come in here in my style. Come in here in the hidden lines. I want to make sure those are invisible. I don't want to see those. Inherit PMI. I'm going to say from model view, and I want to crosshatch inherited PMI lightweight section views. I'm going to turn that on. Select OK. Place that guy up there. Hit close. Maybe I can adjust the boundary a little bit. So maybe I didn't, the jogged out leg, I only adjusted for one of the leaders. I did that kind of quick, but we can see how this these PMI tools are really going to make life easier on us, transitioning back and forth between the 3D and 2D world, or if we want to move in the direction of the future where the model really is being considered the deliverable nowadays. So that pretty much sums up today's presentation. If you would like to see replays of any of our previous Lunch Bytes, go ahead and check out our website at www.allyplm.com. When you get there, you'll see along the top of the web page Lunch Bytes, and they'll drop down into Solid Edge or NX. Go ahead and select NX Unit Graphics Tutorials. You'll be taken to another page where you'll see Lunch Bytes replays with this big play button, and then you'll be taken into a page where you see them categorized on the side over here in categories, or you'll have a visible display of where you can select the video. We also have an app out for Android where you can have these lunch bites on your phone. So I'd like to thank you for your time this afternoon. I hope you found this session to be informative. Feel free to email me any questions that may have come up during today's presentation, or if you have any suggestions for future Lunch Bites topics. You can also call or email our technical support team with any other questions regarding the NX CAD software or any of the other products we support. We'd like to be helpful in any way we can. I found this little page on the internet saying, frustration, dear help desk, my computer kept telling me I have an invalid username or password, and now my keyboard doesn't work. Pretty funny stuff. So before it gets to that point, give us a call. We'd be glad to help you out. Join us for our next Lunch Bite session, which is going to be on March 14th, where we're going to be covering what's new in NX 8.5, the newest release. We look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, and have a great afternoon.